Let's talk about Bill Belichick's coaching future, only because this has been a story all week long. All week long, this all of a sudden became a story because, in my opinion, as I've told our listeners all week, Paul, Bill Belichick wanted to make this a story this week. That's why it's out there again. Bill is floating it out there.
I would absolutely agree. And I think that you've seen a lot of breadcrumbs along the way throughout this, since, what was it, January 17th, right? Was the day that Mayo got hired?
Yep.
And you've seen a lot of these little things that like, oh, really? Is that why? Oh, where'd you come up with that one? Oh, it was, Bill doesn't want total control. Like these media, national media people say, oh, Bill doesn't need total control. Oh.
Since when?
Oh, really?
Oh, that's a change.
So, I think that once it became apparent that Bill didn't have 8 suitors falling at his feet, it started to be this kind of stuff. Colin Cowherd, Adam Schefter,
Scott Zolak. Did you hear Zoe this week?
No, I apologize, but as much as I do love
that
you
was
guys,
confirmation.
You guys know,
confirmed, yeah.
And McBone, I love you too. But you are on at a time where I'm actually.
No, I get it. But if you squeeze Zoe a little bit, he releases more tidbits.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, always. And all of a sudden, I'm like, well, when did you talk to this person close to Bill? This week.
Yeah,
you're like, wait,
casually.
What?
Yep.
You just casually picked up a little information on Bill and what his desires are going forward. And now all of a sudden, after talking to someone close to Bill, you're very convinced that he definitely wants to be coaching in 2025. Gee, that's kind of interesting. The same week that Tom Pelissero picked up a little something and Colin Cowherd picked up a little something and you're picking up a little something. Wow, that's funny how that happens.
It's absolutely, there's no doubt in my mind that Bill was humbled a little bit. With the sort of the lack of buzz around his name. It really kind of was Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
And that was it. And I think, that I think that kind of caught him off guard. I think he felt like, okay, you're going to let me go? I left my pick of the litter. And it didn't work out that way. And I think he's tried to sort of find different ways. I think that's why he's doing some of this media stuff, Beetle. I think he wants to sort of let everybody know that it's not just this gruff, emotionless, humorless, robot coaching on the sideline. He's telling you, he's trying to show you that he has a little personality and more of an ability to adapt to the modern game and the younger players and all that stuff. And I think that's why he did the stuff with McAfee. I think that's why the draft stuff was important to him. And I think you're starting to see some of these people, carry his water for him a little bit too.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this is a pushback on people saying he's going to get into this media stuff and really enjoy it, and it's a good schedule, and seeing the tabloids, the online, the Sun, the one in the UK, that other one, talking about how he's friend close to Belichick, really saying he's finding there's a lot more to life than football as he runs around with his gal pal.
Oh.
Right?
Okay.
Like, this stuff has started to sort of circulate, and he's like, whoa, time out. No, I'm not done. This is just a break. I'm not done. Don't count me out. Don't start talking about me like I'm retired and I'm a media guy now. This is just what I'm doing for the season. We've got another guy to add to the list. That is Jeremy Fowler. Has something on Bill Belichick all of a sudden. Here is Fowler on Bill.
I don't think the coaching pool is going to be overly strong next year. They're good candidates, of course, but there are going to be some really interesting offensive coordinator names. Like Bobby Slowick in Houston, Todd Monken in Baltimore. There'll be some good names, but there aren't going to be, and of course Ben Johnson if he wants to make that jump, but they're not going to be like 20 names screaming head coach. So Belichick, I think, will be in more of a position of power than he was a year ago, and I think the shock value is still high. Like, what just happened in New England and why did it fall apart? And do we really want to give Bill Belichick all this control at his age? But like if Philly opens, it's just a perfect fit for me, in my opinion. I think he would want that job in the worst way, is my sense.
So you feel like the Eagles is the job? If let's say hypothetically he had an option for all of those, you would think the Eagles is the one that's most attractive.
Eagles and Dallas.
Got it.
It just look, big names ready to win now, right? Philly ready to win, Dallas ready to win. Coaches that know that and have to get it done. in a ready-to-win situation. Nick Sirianni and Mike McCarthy, they're both in that situation. So if one of those opens or both opens, I could certainly see it.
His sense. He's got a sense that Bill wants Philadelphia in the worst way, which completely aligns with what Coward was saying yesterday. Needs to be on the East Coast, doesn't want to go west. NFC East looking good for all the potential firings in that division. You know, he'd really like to be close to Jupiter to go play golf, and he'd like to be close to Nantucket for the summers. Wow, Philadelphia checks a lot of boxes, doesn't it?
Yeah, so we all, the three of us, we make a living sort of talking, and it's kind of dangerous when you pick on other people and you pick apart their words.
Yeah.
Okay? But Fowler in that clip says, my sense is he wants the job in the worst way. Those two things aren't the same.
That's quite a sentence.
Do you know what I mean? Those two things aren't the same. Yes. My sense is like, I don't know. I don't know anything, but from afar, I just get the sense that Beat will be interested in the midday show. That's a different thing than he wants the midday show in the worst way. Those
you can't
are not
throw
the
a
same.
sense on something that is so definitive and dramatic.
Yeah. I mean, I think the last part of that is probably right. I think for all the reasons you said that Philly checks a lot of boxes. Oh, and by the way, has the roster too. I think Philly's a more attractive market than Buffalo, as an example, with another team. I think the Dallas thing is always going to sort of hang out there because I think he's always sort of been pretty close with Jerry Jones. But to me, Philly's the one to keep an eye on. That collapse last year, this has to be a very short leash for Nick Sirianni. I also would say this is kind of it, right? I mean, 72 years old. If he doesn't get a job in 25, he's not going to get one in 26. That's only going to be another year pushing it down the road. And one of the things I would push back on Fowler, why is this crop of candidates for head coaching going to be any worse than last year's?
I'm right there with you on that.
And a lot of the names you said were the names for this year. Bobby Slowick, Ben Johnson.
Were we talking about Bobby Slowick and Ben Johnson at this time a year ago?
Yeah, but those
before the season was played.
Were the names. Yeah, that ended up being maybe not. I know what you're saying.
No,
this
before
time.
the season happened. As the season progressed, everyone's like, "Look at the great job that Ben
Slowick
Johnson's
for sure.
doing. Look at Slowick.
He came out of nowhere.
Right. Look at the job that these guys are doing. They're going to deserve head coaching consideration.
Yeah,
that happens every year. There are new names in the coaching cycle,
and those are guys
every
that were in the
year.
cycle this year taking interviews. And I think Johnson actually removed himself. He said he didn't want it. So I think he could have had a job this go around. He'll certainly have a job if he wants it the next go around, unless something really unexpected happens in Detroit. So I don't really know why next year's crop is any different than this year's.
Why do you think Bill wants to coach? Number one reason, is it the record? And if it is, what's the number two reason?
Well, I think we can get an idea. You want to call it 1-1A. I think he has motivation to sort of stick it to Robert Kraft and in the Patriots. I mean, he was unceremoniously let go. I mean, parting of the ways. I'm contractually obligated to call it a mutual parting of the ways. But I think we can all sort of. If you had to guess, if everything stayed the same and there was no pushback, do you think Bill would want to still be the coach of the Patriots? You think he would have stepped down?
No.
So let's call it what it is.
No, I don't know that it needs to be sort of putting it back in the Patriots' face. I think it should be for his own personal pride. You want to end your career like that?
Oh, what it should be?
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that should be the. I didn't forget.
I don't want to go out like that.
I'm not going out like this.
It's like, was it Lawrence Taylor when he? I think did he tear his Achilles or tear his ACL when in the season it was going to be his last year, and he's like, I don't want to go out like that. He rehabbed, he came back, he played one more year.
Right.
One of those kinds of things. I agree with you. I just think that the motivation to prove himself, whether you want to say against the Patriots, for himself, however you want to deem it semantically, that's high on the list.
Not going out the way that he did. So, Bill, will we still see him in 2025? I think the bigger question is not whether he wants to coach, but if the league wants him as a coach. That's what it comes down to.
And I don't think that's a foregone conclusion. I'm with you.
I don't think it is. He barely had any interest this year with a bunch of openings. What makes us think a year removed he's going to have an increased level of interest? Granted, it only takes one. It only takes one team to want him to make this work. But he clearly wants back in. And he doesn't want anybody talking about how he's going to enjoy his media career and settle in and get comfy and be this moving forward.